Hello and welcome to CLEA'S World. I am Clea, and today I would like to share with you more of the information I've received from the 25th dimension during my last QHHT Hypnosis session. I'll be reading from a transcript of the session, and when I refer to Lorrayne, I'm speaking to my practitioner who's asking me questions I prepared in advance of the session. And when I refer to me, I'm speaking to myself under hypnosis, which means the answers are coming from the 25th. I'm going to jump in here and start reading. In this part of the session, we are still talking about dreams that I've had in the past couple of months. Lorrayne, okay, this dream is from the 13th of April. I don't know why or what I am working on, but my dreams have been strange the last couple of days. Last night, I dreamed that I was staying at Mel's castle with Lorrayne and my daughter. It was huge and pink with dark pink borders and many turrets. I was there hanging out, and at some point, a voice appeared in my head. I could hear it clearly, and it wasn't my voice, and said, "You will receive a ring." As the voice was saying this, a friend of Mel's, who was there because there was a get-together going on, was walking towards me with something in her hand that I just seen her pick up from the floor, and was saying, "Is this yours? I found a..." I interrupted her and said, "A ring?" And she gave it to me. I put it on my ring finger on my right hand. It was a thin white gold or silver band with a tiny set of 3 diamonds on it. She and a friend of hers were leaving. The voice was talking to me about something related to them, and I was trying to hold them back until we heard what he would say, but they were saying goodbye, and by the time it was finished, they were already outside. The voice was saying that there would be an accident happening to one of her friends. As the voice finished talking, I heard a car crash outside. I ran into the room where the party was happening, and I was beside myself. I was crying, and I screamed that an accident had taken place. I had forgotten that I was supposed to not talk about anything spiritual or weird in front of Mel's partner. His friends looked at me as if I was crazy, and someone came over to make sure I was okay, but mostly to escort me out of the room. I was beating myself up for having made a scene. Why couldn't I just break the news without crying, or just tell Mel? Then I lost time, as if I had passed out, because the next thing I know is that I'm asking Mel how long I've been there. It feels like a long time, even though I'm expecting to hear a few days, because I had consciously only experienced being there a few days. But she says a quarter of a year, which is how it felt for me too. And she does not look happy, as if we're overstayed our welcome, and she wants us to go. I feel terrible for staying so long, and I wish I had not lost time, because I really have only enjoyed a few days. But now I've been rude by staying so long, and I wasn't even conscious to enjoy it. I ask where Lorrayne is, and Mel says that she's visiting the Indian reservation nearby. Has been gone a few days, and Mel doesn't know when she will return. I feel bad when I hear this. I don't know if Lorrayne is just not there because she doesn't want to intrude as much as I am, so she's a better guest, even though I couldn't help passing out, or if she is distancing herself from me, so we are not both considered a nuisance. I see my daughter eating brioche after brioche, which is a sign that she has not had dinner. I want to tell Mel that she needs dinner, but I feel uncomfortable because I'm now asking for another favor and weighing on her even more as a guest. Then we go into a room that opens up to a beautiful white beach and water. Mel can just jump into the water and do a few laps. That's what many are doing. There are several people enjoying it. This is a pleasant village, and people seem happy and entertained. So Mel jumps in for her daily swim. I think how nice her life is that she can do that. But then she gives me the news that she's leaving for Australia. And I'm sorry to hear it because I'm losing another friend. I really don't want her to leave. This is my comment at the end of the dream. I didn't enjoy this dream at all. The only comfort I had is that when I woke up, I remember that Mel already lives in Australia, so it's fine. Me. They were laughing. The 25th was laughing. Okay, so it was a long dream and there was a lot packed in here. But basically, what this dream was referring to was really what Claire has experienced with the experience of the friend that we chose not to name in the last session when we discussed her pulling away. And this is the friend that has been with us or with me since the beginning of this channel, but then eventually she's had to make a different choice about what she believes in because she has resistance to some of the stuff that we are discussing because of other priorities. And the 25th has talked about this and the fact that there are people that cannot afford to do this work consciously, and that's perfectly fine. So the feeling that she's losing friends. And so in this case, it was Mel who was saying, "I'm moving away. I'm not going to be part of this anymore. I'm not going to be near you. You overstayed your welcome. You're a nuisance now. And they were laughing and all of that. So it's really very much referring to how Clea feels, as if this might be becoming too much for certain people, especially because these people have a vested interest in not wanting to hear these things or to fully acknowledge these things. Now, this can be problematic in terms of, in Clea's thinking, it can be problematic because this work must be conscious. So we can't just keep hiding our heads in the sand. At the same time, we said this many times, there is no right or wrong way of doing this. Everything is perfectly fine. So if some people need to, because of their current reality, they must hold on to a certain pretense of how reality works, that's perfectly fine. Clea does not need to worry about this. Everybody's an ascended master. So everybody's handling things exactly the way that they must be handled. There is no wrong way of doing this process. But anyway, in the dream, just to go over the dream kind of action by action here. Yeah, so Clea was spending time with you, Lorrayne, and Mel. This is friends, of course, and not only, it was in this beautiful, rarefied reality. Truly, it just meant in a place away from the normal 3D, which is where we find ourselves, right? Because there's only us left now. So we're kind of in our own little sliver of reality. And Clea, of course, is connecting with the 25th. She calls it the voice. She says, what is this voice? And meanwhile, the voice is telling her things that are going to happen right now before they happen. And she goes, oh my goodness, so this is real, you know, with the ring and then the accident. And of course, she's all emotional. We have been very emotional. This was a repetition, basically. It was a review of the process we've had here for the past couple of years. So she was very emotional. So now she's running to Mel and telling her what's happening. And she realizes, oh my gosh, no, I'm not supposed to look crazy. I'm supposed to just pretend everything's exactly how it is. Totally 3D, right? And these people, these 3D people, the friends at the party, and Mel's party, including her partner, don't want to hear these things. Don't want to know that this is what's going on. So they're escorting me. This lady's escorting me out, you know, with the excuse that she's comforting me and whatever. So they can go back to whatever game they're playing. So all of a sudden, I feel bad too. I'm like, why did I have to say these things, you know? Which of course, we talked about this. Claire has always been wondering. She goes, why do I have to put myself out there? Why do I even have to do this if it doesn't matter? If once we get to New Earth, we all know anyway. And we already said she didn't have to. She doesn't have to. But it is a choice that she has made. And luckily, and fortunately, it's become a choice that has made a big difference because of this overtime we've had here. So in that sense, we are glad that she has made this choice. But again, it was her choice, which continues to be her choice. Then there is the part about, now she's saying, I wish I could have enjoyed. I've been here this entire time. I wish I could have enjoyed instead of just being a nuisance. And I haven't even enjoyed it. And they were laughing. So I've been a nuisance without meaning to overstay my welcome here. And so that's the case, that Clea hasn't enjoyed most of this process. And we don't mean the talking to us part or the talking to you, Lorrayne, or having these sessions, or Carolyn, or all the friends that she's met through this process. She's referring to the fact that this entire process, this entire time we spent here, even before the takedown, when we started connecting, has not been pleasant for any of us. We've all had, there's been a revolution here, basically, from an emotional and consciousness perspective. So it's been very tough work. And you know how much we have fought, how much resistance we have put up to a lot of things, to things that have been going on out there. You know, things we like to think that are going on out there, and so on and so forth. And so we've come a long way. We have done an inordinate amount of work, and it will just be more obvious as we move forward. But basically, she's saying in the dream, I wish I had at least enjoyed, but I haven't. But then, of course, now she's thinking, oh, Lorrayne instead is behaving so much better. She's been such a better guest. And they were laughing. Because, of course, while you are a friend in the dream, just like in reality, you're just asking questions. It's not really you, quote unquote, exposing yourself and saying these things. Even though we said a million times that there is no difference between the person speaking these things and the person hearing it. But in Clea's dream, it's like, well, Lorrayne has a way out if she wants to. She doesn't have to be the person that people target if they need to target this message. And of course, this also refers to what happened again with that friend who distanced herself. And basically this dream was still integrating that knowledge that Clea has about this other friend. So in the dream then, Claire is going with Mel to see what's going on, going back, like chilling out, basically, going back to something that looks normal, which is this is life in Mel's house. And Mel is showing her that she has a good life. She's jumping in the water, in this gorgeous water with white beaches around and so on and so forth. And so Mel's doing her life and she's perfectly happy. She's saying, you know what? I'm going back to Australia, meaning I'm going and that's that. Not that we're not friends anymore, but I'm not going to be here anymore. And so now Claire is thinking, what does that mean? Is this about Mel or what is going on? But basically this dream was very much referring to some of the emotions that have come up for Claire a couple of months ago around all these things. Claire doesn't feel this way anymore. She also has very much come to a peaceful point where, again, there is no resistance. She realizes everything that is transpiring in my reality, I am causing, and it doesn't really matter. These are all minor things because, again, I know what I know, and what is going to happen is going to happen, whether people want to know it consciously or not. So Claire has reached the point where it doesn't really matter. She's doing what she's doing out of her own volition. She's taking responsibility for it. And she doesn't want to, not that she can. She doesn't even want to control what happens with this. And again, she can't because we are all ascended masters. We know exactly what we're doing. So this information is being taken differently by different people. But at the higher self level, this is known. This is a known fact. So it's only a conscious level that we're having this little bit of a battle because this was the project we wanted to do. We wanted to bridge the gap between believing that everything was happening despite our desires. And you probably remember, Lorrayne, earlier in the group in the past several months, people saying, I want this, but why is this other thing happening? An example of it today was Josie's question. I don't want Alberta to be on fire. Why is Alberta on fire? Alberta is on fire because we do want it to be on fire. Otherwise, Alberta would not be on fire. Unfortunately, we don't want to hear it, but that's the reality of things. And the more we say, I don't want Alberta on fire, the more Alberta will be on fire. It might not look like Alberta being on fire from a physical perspective, but it's going to be the same vibration as Alberta being on fire. We're just going to continue this because we need the shell in place, and this is why we're fighting it. Lorrayne, I agree with the statement that which we resist, and Lorrayne on the 25th concluded the phrase together persists. And then Lorrayne added, that's exactly what you just said. Me, that's right. But at the same time, see, Claire believed this as well, and it's very true. But one thing, again, is knowing intellectually. One thing is feeling it now. And now we know. And right now, we do know. And Josie understands it just as well. We want to be clear on this. We are not saying that Josie is somehow behind compared to wherever she should be, whatever she should be doing instead. Josie is doing absolutely nothing wrong. This is no more, no less than all of us have done and continue doing in different aspects of our reality. It doesn't mean that all of a sudden we're aware that we can walk on water and there we go, we're walking on water. So we're just using Josie's example because just so happens she asked a question of that sort today. We all have these, we still persist with some of these beliefs where we look outside and we're like, oh, why is this happening? So that's what we meant to say, that, as we do this work, it will look different ways for different people. And it's all fine because no matter what, everything is going to happen the way that we want it to happen and that we said will happen because this is our decision. So unless we change our minds, we said this before, all of a sudden we decide that we don't want to have the recall. We could, it's up to us, but we do. Right now, we do intend for the recall to happen. So it will happen no matter what it looks like on the outside. Because to a certain extent, we do want this external shell to continue as an extension of our personal shell. That's why we were saying earlier, like for Claire, the external shell doesn't feel the same way that it used to feel before, because as she is so focused on her immediate external shell, what we call the personal shell, the external shell falls into place. So she's not even aware of these things happening. They really don't matter to her anymore. She's seeing things that really, if you were to look at it from a logical perspective, are not a direct consequence of outside events. For example, in real estate, we'll clarify here with an example. In real estate, for example, interest rates are so high, the market is supposed to be crashing, et cetera, et cetera. Meanwhile, Claire is finding properties to buy. She's finding lenders that want to lend to her so she can invest, et cetera, et cetera. These are things that don't go hand in hand normally. In fact, you would imagine this is the opposite of what would normally happen. But Clea decided it doesn't matter to her what things look like on the outside. She just wants her personal reality to go a certain way. So that's how it's going. Even though it makes no sense on paper, it makes no sense that this would be happening at this time, considering the supposed outside external data that we're getting. Lorrayne. And of course, there is no outside external data. So bravo, Clea, me. Exactly. There you go. Lorrayne, there is one more dream. And this dream is from the 15th of March. I was in New York with my boyfriend, and we stopped by a swanky restaurant called Celine, with an next other restaurant called the Holy Tree. They were serving great Italian food, but I don't believe I was hungry yet. So I told my boyfriend, let's go find the best Italian restaurant in town. As we walked, someone who worked in a restaurant said to come in for the best food in town. We did, and they started serving us. And anytime we mentioned wanting to go out on the town or do something, they told us that they would take care of us, like take us to some places with their car or go shopping where they said. Basically, they wanted us to themselves, like they had captured us. Eventually, we started trying to figure out how to get away from them. And they realized it and changed their tone to menacing and threatening. We were afraid, so we bid our time and eventually made our escape. There were many people in the restaurant who were part of the gang, and over time, we became more people too, because in the end, when I saw us all together outside the restaurant in a garden, all happy about having escaped, there were at least 5 or 6 of us, including a grandma who was in line with our little convoy. And she was hopping on her 2 feet, and I thought, she's not going to last doing that for very long. In the next scene, my boyfriend and I went back to the first restaurant, and I was aware that good enough is good enough. No need to always look for something better. We couldn't remember the name of the restaurant right away, but it came to me, and I said Celine, which was correct. But my boyfriend said, no, Holy Tree. Is this supposed to be New Earth? Me. Yeah. So basically, it's the idea that we already are creating our reality. So we don't need to be in a place and think this is the place. It could be the best place. It could be the better place, because it's really up to us. And so it's saying, yeah, it is the Holy Tree. And of course, the Holy Tree is. And in fact, it reminds Clea, as soon as she heard that in the dream, of a dream that she had about 2 years ago, where she was at a hotel. And then she came out of the hotel and walked into a park next to the hotel. And then when she passed this tree, she would be on New Earth. So that's what she was thinking of when she heard the words Holy Tree. But yes, so it's supposed to be New Earth. And also we have some references in the dream to what's going on. Like, for example, the grandmother who's so excited. She's hopping up and down, and Clea's saying, well, you might want to pace yourself because we're not there yet, and you're not going to last like that. And basically, we know that that's what's happening, which is we are pacing ourselves. We're basically, again, settling in and just going with the flow until stuff pans out. And then, yeah, so this whole idea of we've been trapped here. We are in this restaurant. We want to go somewhere else because we want better, the best place, really, which is New Earth. But we are trapped here. We're being kept. We're being held back. And we're like, oh, let's not talk about it. Let's not make them see that we are trying to escape here. So maybe we can take any opportunity to do that. And so, yeah, very much all of this refers to New Earth and to the fact that we do want to be gone. We are impatient. And again, Clea is with her boyfriend because her boyfriend has always been very supportive. And her boyfriend is very well aware that Clea is going to New Earth and they'll see each other again because he's going with the aliens. So he's okay with that. And so, yeah, that's what this dream was about. Lorrayne, we have 10 minutes left, and we also have final messages for us. And just so we're clear here, the reason I did not even ask, or we didn't have time to ask for final messages for everybody, is because, as you well know, there is nothing that's just related to me or to Lorrayne or to anybody else. There is no individuality. So as you will notice, the messages that we got relate to everybody who's been doing this work consciously, which is all of us, me. So we'll give you our final messages right now. And for the simple reason that we will not even split it between you and Clea, because you kind of are at the same point in this experience right now, which is you are completed. And therefore, you're really just chilling out right now, which is not to say we're tapping our foot while we're waiting for everybody else to catch up. And will you please hurry up? That's not how we feel. We finally have come to the realization and to a place of calm where we're okay with whatever anybody else is doing. We finally realize that, again, it's inevitable. What's going to happen is inevitable. So we are all moving together. And therefore, because we are one, realize the emotional work has been done. Again, this is emotional work we're doing. So of course, if we're completed, other people are nearing completion. Like we said, Carolyn is really momentary, but also completed really. But they just haven't integrated the fact the way that you and Clea have. This is going to happen because, again, the project is complete in the sense. Now we just have to put a bow on top, which is the recall, and this will happen. So these are our final messages, which is really there's nothing for you to do. Enjoy. Enjoy your reality as much as you can, which you are. You are enjoying more and more. You can make it even more pleasant from now on. And until we're here, we might as well enjoy. It doesn't mean that we're not doing work anymore. We are always doing work in the background. Our higher self is always concocting things for us to absorb, and they were laughing. But it doesn't have to be unpleasant. We really have done the bulk of the work that we wanted to do before leaving this planet. And we will be so proud of ourselves and so astounded by how much work we've actually done. We have no idea. We have no comprehension right now of the amount of work we've done. It will become so obvious once we move to New Earth. Lorrayne, thank you very much. We very much appreciated visiting with you today. And I can't say that I hope this is the last time because I do communicate with you. But like Clea, I would very much like to take this game down and move on. Thank you so much for watching. As always, I want to remind you of something I mentioned in the beginning of the session, which is after the session, I don't expect that I'll be able to keep the publishing schedule I've kept so far, which lately for the past few months has been one video every 3 days. This is just not sustainable for me considering how busy I've been getting in my 3D experience. However, if anything important comes up, if there are any changes, I will let you know one way or the other, so stay tuned. I will continue obviously having sessions with the 25th, and so I will definitely keep you updated. Take care. Bye-bye.